Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of keeping your struggles or your issues to yourself. In this day and age of social media, people tend to overshare any and everything that's going on in their life. And while social media is a great way to connect with those around you, it can also become a cesspool of oversharing, trauma dumping, trauma bonding. And I'd also encourage you to kind of move away from that practice if you engage in this, whether it's social media or just in general. When it comes down to it, most people do not care about what you're going through. And sometimes people will tune in because they kind of feel like it's this human obligation to show concern when they actually don't, and they're hoping that the conversation will be over. Or some people, they just want to listen to your drama and your stories for entertainment, the same way that the average person will tune into celebrity gossip, social media influencer gossip to kind of get their daily dose of entertainment, and then next week they forget about the topic altogether. That just means that for the most part, people do not care and they're tapping in for entertainment. As a general rule of thumb, I encourage you to always ask yourself when you are, and this is not to deter you from asking for help. You should always ask for help when you are going through a tough time or you're kind of navigating a situation that you've never navigated before. It is wise for you to seek the counsel and advice of people who are more senior than you, maybe in terms of experience, or people who have gone through similar situations so that you can get through the situation a lot quicker and faster. And it also gives you peace of mind and relief to know that you're not alone and it's not some sort of bad thing or curse that's happening to you exclusively, because chances are other people have gone through what you have gone through, okay? So it creates sort of this unofficial sense of community. However, when you are reaching out to people for help, I would advise you to ask yourself, number one, what am I hoping to gain from me asking for help? Or what am I hoping to gain from me disclosing a situation to this person? And number two, and most importantly, is this person in a position to help me? And of course, nothing is ever guaranteed. Maybe the person doesn't know, but they can equip you with the connections to people who can help you. But for the most part, if the person is not in a position, they lack the skill set, expertise, whatever, to assist you, I would be hesitant to reach out to that person and to just keep things to yourself. And if you are someone who's kind of grown up in a family situation where your needs were not met emotionally, you kind of did not receive emotional support, you were kind of left alone, especially as a child. You were kind of left to figure things out for yourself and kind of soothe yourself emotionally, which is a very dangerous practice to do for a child, because those are the years where the child is learning literally emotional regulation, and they learn that through how their caregivers respond to their emotional needs. And so if you are not receiving that support, it can be very easy for you to try and seek that support from anyone who will listen. And so I advise you to be cognizant of this, because most people, they will plug in and act as if they care about what you're going through. They may follow up and say, hey, how's it going? Hope things are going well. How is that situation? What's going on? They may be asking you to just be flat out nosy, or they may be asking you as a way to kind of keep tabs on you to measure their own progress. This is a habit that people will do when they're looking for a boost. This is usually adopted by low vibrational people who are not focused on their own level up journey, and they use other people's successes and failures to measure their own instead of just focusing on themselves. And so they may very well just be reaching out to you to keep tabs, to say, oh, well, it looks like she's still struggling. At least I'm not that bad off. Or drat, like, it looks like she keeps overcoming challenges so quickly and easily. Like, what the heck? Like, what is she doing? She's cheating at life. Like, she doesn't deserve. She gets things so easily. And people could try to sabotage you, like physically, literally, or they could try to sabotage you spiritually by sending bad intentions your way to try to block or delay your progress. So do not be an outlet for people to kind of measure their own progress. Learn how to keep things to yourself and be intentional about who you seek advice from, so that also you're kind of leaving people to wonder about you, okay? And leaving people to make their own assumptions. Do not feed or confirm people's assumptions about where you are in life. Let them figure that out on their own. People also will use your struggles as a way to reinforce their stereotypes about the disenfranchised Black girl to boost their self esteem. And this is nobody's fault but Black women's fault for constantly putting out their issues on social media and constantly talking about how disenfranchised we are. Because Black women are constantly talking about their issues, a lot of people from various ethnic and racial groups have formed this opinion that Black people are innately disenfranchised, regardless of socioeconomic status. Like, I've seen people who make $200,000 a year at major corporations talking about how disenfranchised they are. And so when you walk with that label, you are teaching people that that is your identity, and they will use that for their own advantage. They will use that to kind of absolve themselves maybe of any guilt or try to affirm their own goodness. And so it may be them befriending you or mentioning your name in rooms for potential opportunities that you probably will not get because you lack the skill set. But they position you as a disenfranchised person that needs their help. And then they end up looking like the savior who came and saved this poor little Black girl. But when it comes down to it, they don't actually care about you, because if they did care about you, they would say, look, I see that you have the potential to do X, Y, and Z, but you lack the skill set. So I'm going to work with you or set you up with whoever to get you the necessary skills so that you can get this role, this business contract, you can make it to the Olympics team, whatever it may be. Because they don't care about you on that level and they want to look like the good savior so that they themselves can get benefits, people are slowly starting to move away from that woe is the Black community narrative. People are starting to not care, especially with the state of this economy. They are weighing other things as more crucial to put their attention to. And so society kind of has this mentality where it's like, if you fall by the wayside because you can't compete, you're going to fall by the wayside. And so it's very important that you do not adopt this disenfranchised label, because again, people will use that to keep you down while they boost themselves. It's kind of like, well, I kind of tried to help you out. I kind of tried to speak towards your plight as an ally, but unfortunately it didn't pan out. But I get to progress because during this entire situation, I developed a skill set to move higher, and people see me as a good person, the good Samaritan, and you continue to be disenfranchised and stay at the bottom. In this new year that we're about to enter, and the new fiscal year that's pretty much about to start next month, you cannot afford to be the disenfranchised Black girl. So do away with that label and do whatever is necessary to develop the skill sets and the contacts to get you to the next level. I remember when I first graduated from university and I had finished an internship overseas, and I came back home and I was looking for work, and I had met a colleague that was big in career development, and she was all about boosting and promoting people of color, specifically women of color and Black identified women. And I remember when I was working in corporate, I kind of reached a plateau in my career where I was reaching out and applying for positions and not even getting interviews. I think I had submitted maybe 20 applications in a span of 1 year, and I only got 2 interviews, and it was for internal positions. And nothing was panning out eventually. And to be honest, at the beginning, that was when I was very green in corporate settings, so I didn't really understand networking, booking coffee chats, and having conversations, the importance of that, especially when there's a job posting. But anyway, she had called me one time, and she was working for a very big transportation company in the city. It is probably the largest one in the country, as a matter of fact. And she was working in a very high position in that company. And she had reached out to me kind of out of the blue at a time when I was kind of fed up and not desperate, but I was ready to leave my position at the time. And she was like, yeah, well, I work in this position. You should apply. There's a lot of positions. And she asked me about my experience, and I let her know. And she's like, yeah, just, work on your resume, send it my way, and I'll review it, and then you can apply. There wasn't an official referral program apparently for that company, but the fact that she was in this position, she could definitely make things happen. But I noticed some things with this interaction with her. Number one, when it was time for her and I to meet up, like we had scheduled a time to talk about my resume, she would kind of blow me off. Like I would call, not answer. Then, like an hour or two later, she'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll call you back. I'm just busy right now. And so at the time, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to beg for anything. Like, I did my due diligence. If and when she's ready to talk, like, she knows how to find me. And she kind of disclosed to me that a friend of hers was given an interview and that they were progressing very quickly in the interviewing process after some time. But like, I wasn't able to get an interview. And it kind of dawned on me that she kind of only reached out to kind of see where I was at in life and see if I was still struggling. But she probably was very much the reason why her friend progressed very quickly in the process because, again, she held a decision making position in the company. And so she could obviously make that happen. But she did not do that for me because I held the disenfranchised Black girl label. And so she was reaching out to, I guess, be nosy, see if I was still struggling, and kind of as a way to mark her own success. Because I remember one time when I recently came back to the country, like I was still sorting out like my transportation and things like that. And one time, like years after, she's like, "Oh, are you still taking the bus?" Like we were gonna meet up. And I lived in a part of the city where there was a lot of transit. So, like, kind of like New York City, you don't need to have a vehicle because honestly, it's easier to get around with transit than a car. But she kind of just, as a snide remark, was like, "Oh, are you taking the bus?" And it's like, "Nah, girl, like, I got my car situated. I moved out of the city to the suburbs. Like, I'm good." But she was kind of asking that, like, "Oh, are you still like the struggling Black girl who has to take the bus type of thing?" Or she would call and be like, "Oh, how are things going at X company? And you should consider taking this entry level position that it pays so, but honestly the type of work that it was just not suitable for a woman like myself. It was more of a masculine hands-on role, and I was thinking to myself, girl, would you ever do that yourself or even recommend that your daughter do that role? No, then why would you recommend someone else's daughter to do it? But honestly, that was the last time that I spoke to that person. And I was like, number one, I'm no longer going to feed her or anyone with their quarterly or annual dose of the sorry poor Black girl. It didn't dawn on me that was her intention. I honestly thought that she was going to help me better my situation with a better job, even though she had the position to do that. But hindsight is always 2020, and I could have looked at other patterns before that to kind of be like, what is this person's intention? But always look at people's patterns. Sometimes it's not as evident even if you have patterns, but that's why it's important to share as little as possible until you're able to uncover the person's true intention. As a segue to the next topic, people will honestly resent you if you're constantly complaining about situations, especially if you're not the type of person to ask for help and then implement the help to change your situation. And it could honestly push away good, leveled up people. All right. People who are leveled up or are constantly on a path of growth and progression and have a growth mindset, they understand that energy is transferable. And so they'll only want to surround themselves with people who are leveled up and people who have healed energy. And a sign that you have healed energy is when you're able to kind of navigate challenges from a, okay, what can I do to fix my situation type of thing, not a, I want to sit around and complain to whoever will listen type of stance. And so if you are noticing that you're repelling good people or people kind of are not sticking around, and good people who have people who are rich, people have who have good paying jobs, They're not going to be hanging around the brokies who are always broke. They're not going to be hanging around the sad people who are always sad and not really doing anything to fix it, or kind of the single girl who has so much dating trauma. Like, they are going to be around like-minded people because, again, they understand that energy is transferable. And while they understand that not everyone is going to have the same path as you, and that's great. It's always good to have variety amongst you. One thing that you do have in common is having a growth mindset versus a limited mindset. People only want to hear about your issues once you've overcome them and you have a success story to go with that. Okay, because people respect those who overcome challenges because, again, it shows that you have a growth mentality, it shows that you have resilience, it shows that you're a problem solver. These are all traits that people across all walks of life value and appreciate in any relationship. So, if you're the type of person who's kind of going through things and you find yourself sharing to anyone who will listen, stop doing that. Okay, speak to a therapist who can help you uncover your trauma. I say that in just about every video, but therapy really is a gem because it can help to uncover challenges that you didn't know existed. Or connect with a mentor. Maybe you would like career advice, maybe you would like modeling advice, pageantry advice, maybe you're looking to get into the Olympics or start a business. Connect with someone who is a trusted person in their industry. It may also mean that you need to invest some money into getting mentorship, but again, if you're going to go that route, go through someone who is either licensed or reputable in their industry. Utilize Google reviews. If you're a part of like a Facebook group for your city, just do a quick search for mentors in that industry. And to me, when you see people referring the same person over and over again, multiple people referring the same person, that's a good sign that that's the type of person that you want to work with. And again, look to adopt a growth mentality versus a limited mindset. If you do not know what a growth or fixed or limited mindset is, I've mentioned this book before in previous videos, but I encourage you to check out the book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. It talks about how you can learn to fulfill your potential, whether it's in parenting, business, school, relationships, by author Carol S. Dweck. This is not sponsored, but I just find this to be a really good book. It was gifted to me by management when I had first started my career, and so I still have this book as part of my library, and I read it every now and then when I need a reminder. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think about this video, and I will see you in the next video.